you all vanish. Okay, so we'll do some few minutes and end it, okay? So the picture we are seeing on the left side here, the video, that is what we call the dovetail joints. Okay, the yellow one is a dovetail, which enters the projection, which we call the pins. So we have the tail and the pins forming the dovetail joint. And this is the back saw that has been designed specifically for cutting this. The difference between this one and the tenon saw is just the handle. One has the handle closed, the other has the handle halfway. Okay, so let's move to the next one. The next one we are looking at, we call it the razor saw. The razor saw is also another back saw. This one is specifically used for jobs that require what we call precision. I don't know if you understand the word precision. You agree with me that if the saw is big and we are using it to cut a small material or a small piece of wood, the saw will end up splintering most part of the wood away, or creating a lot of sawdust. In other words, the saw will end up destroying the workpiece. So engineers came out with this smaller one, which we call the razor saw. The name razor because it cuts like the way blade cuts. It will cut without producing much waste. And when it cuts too, it is able to cut along the line, and the path that it will create while cutting will be very, very, very small because the blade itself is very, very thin. However, this particular saw is not common in our world here. It is very common in Asia or Japan, to be precise, because they are very, very crafty. They do a lot of woodwork, which we call joinery, and they do it with precision. So most of our wooden artifacts that we get here from the Asian country come from Japan and China, and it's common to, they have different sizes of this, which is able to cut very small objects, smaller wooden pieces. The two videos you are seeing on the left are demonstrating how this saw is used. It can be used to cut the small piece along the grain in this diagram or across the grain in the second diagram. Please, any questions so far? Someone is talking, but the person's net sound is not clear. Any questions? If no questions, then let me ask the question. And the question flow, what has identified the source that we have discussed so far? Mention any of them. Let me see your hand before you talk. Yes. And now, Sapo.
So,
yes, mention any of the source that we have mentioned so far or discussed so far. Which source? Which one? Back saw. Okay. Back saw. Now, what are the types of the back saw? Okay. Please. So people are talking even when they have not raised their hands. Asiraba, which one did you mention?
Someone has said it.
Okay. Sise, your hand is up.
Tenon saw.
Tenon saw. So the back saws, we have mentioned razor saw, sash saw, tenon saw, and dovetail saw. Okay. Now, apart from these four, which other two did we discuss?
Rip saw.
The rib saw. And what?
Rib saw. Razor saw.
Crosscut.
Razor saw.
Crosscut saw. Okay, thank you. Mute your mic and let's move on. Okay, the next one we are looking at is the coping saw. The coping saw is a saw that has been designed with the handle and the body or the frame look like our letter D, capital D. You can see it flipping up there. There is a saw we call hacksaw, which is used in metalwork. This coping saw looks similar to the hacksaw. Now, the advantage of using the coping saw is that it's also used to cut for precision, meaning if you don't want to produce much weight. So this one is able to cut smaller objects. Now, another advantage is that imagine I want to cut something like a ring. I want to cut a ring open. You can remove the blade. This is the blade. This is the blade. This is the handle, and this is the frame. We have this one here called the adjustable screw or nut. This one too is another. They are used to hold the blade firmly in the frame. So if you want to cut a circular object open, imagine I want to cut let's say a milk tin. I want to cut it open, a cylinder which is hollow, there's no cover or base. I can remove the handle, the blade from the frame, push the blade through the cylinder before fixing it, so that the cylinder would now be around the blade, and all that I'll have to do is to push forward and back, and the blade will cut it open. So that is one advantage of the coping saw. It is basically used for cutting curves, moldings, joinings, and fashion dovetails. So this one has performed a lot of function. It's able to cut tenon, mortise and tenon joint, that's the tenon joint. So if you have this one, it's better because it's able to perform the duty of most of the back saws. However, it is also not common. And a lot of people don't like using it because it usually requires the two hands to operate it. One hand will hold the handle, and the other hand will be used to hold the frame here, this part of the frame. You push forward and back like the way we use the hacksaw. So most of the artisans, the carpenters, do not like using it because they don't want to use the two hands. Why? Because most of it, they don't even have what we call holding tools to hold the workpiece in place. Because if you want to cut properly, you must hold the workpiece on the bench firmly before you cut. And most of the carpenters don't have the holding tools. So they use one hand to hold the workpiece and use the second hand to hold the saw for cutting. So if they are to use the the coping saw, then it means that they will require all the two hands to hold the saw, which wouldn't be possible because they will not have extra hand to hold the material in place. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the little we have discussed so far, I have not made the lesson available on ProLearn yet. By close of the day, I'll put the notes there as well as the video, so that you play the video over if you don't understand anything, and then you also copy the notes as usual. There will be an assignment attached. you make sure you complete it meticulously. Don't just write anything because your teacher is asking you to solve the questions. Make sure what you are writing, the answers you are providing are sensible. Am I okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, on that note,
Yes, sir.
we call it a day. Ask any question before we end it.
What is the spoke shave?
Please, you are talking, but you ask what is a spoke shave. Okay, if you can remember, I listed a lot of tools in woodwork that we are going to take one after the other. That's why I said this topic can take us more than a month. We are going to talk about spoke shave. We will talk about saws. We have already tackled the saws, so we won't talk about saws next time. I also listed planes. Okay, the spoke shave is part of the planes. Okay, it's a special plane that is designed for special jobs, so we treat it separately. Then I also mentioned chisel. So we are going to talk about chisels. We are going to talk about planes and others. So we are taking them one after the other. Am I okay? So don't rush.
Yes,
You know what the spoke shave is by the time all the objectives are covered. Me? You want me to ask you questions? Asidaba, do you have any questions for me? Josephine, what about you? Uncle Selassie, Josephine, that's your younger sister.
sir.
Selassie, any questions? Josephine, tell your sister to stop disturbing you. Solomon, any questions? Benedicta. Bened, don't you have any question for me?
No, please.
Tessa and Emanuela.
No.
Elom
Yes,
and Francis. Any questions?
No.
Amel and Jojo. Doreen and Jedediah. Any questions?
No. No.
Ellen and Cisse, any questions?
No.
Please, no.
No.
Abina? Okay, so on that note, my objectives for today is for us to identify the groups of cutting tools, the various cutting tools that we have in woodwork, block work, and metal work. Then for us to also identify the various types of saws that we have in woodwork. I hope that is okay. On that note, we call it a day.
Sir.
See you next week.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. See you on 3 o'clock. At 3 o'clock.
Which subject is that?
ICT.
Okay.
ICT.
Good day.